hybrid athlete model is a model that's really become popular over the past decade or so. It's a model that encompasses a lot of endurance training and combining it with strength training. And it's a model that has been criticized for being deeply flawed, as it doesn't focus on one specific aspect. People think that you can't be strong and have good endurance at the same time, unless they say that you're taking performance-enhancing drugs. Please don't do. But it absolutely is possible. You can do strength training and endurance training at the same time. It's really about, though, which one you enjoy more or which one you want to focus on more. You see, for me as an Ironman athlete, I'm obviously focused more on the endurance aspect at the moment. There was a period in time where I was more focused on strength training as well. And during my days as a soccer player, I was more focused on the endurance component again. But there's one component of hybrid model training and endurance training and strength training that is quite neglected, and it's an area that I think is very undervalued in the fitness industry. Now, what exactly is athletic power training? It's basically where you are stimulating growth in the fast twitch muscle fibers. You are looking for more explosive movements, and you're not as focused on moving more weight. You're more focused on how fast you move lighter weight. You can still go heavier with it. Typically what we do is about 60 to 70%. Maybe even 50%. Lighter rep weight. I can't speak. Go lighter than you would on your normal sets with more when you're doing more strength or hypertrophy focus. And really focus on your rate of force production. How quickly are you able to move the weight up? And that's something that I think is very, very, very critical to endurance athletes and to athletes in general. Because when you are performing, when you're doing running or you're doing any type of athletic movement in any type of sport, whether that be soccer, basketball, football, any of those, you have to always be quick. You have to be on your toes. You have to make quick movements. You have to be very rapid in everything that you do. And that's exactly what this type of training does. It's so neglected because bodybuilding overshadows everything in the strength industry in terms of weights, because people think, oh, well, if I'm moving this weight, I'm moving weights like this, I have to be focused on doing strength work. I have to be focused on building up muscular strength. That's not always the case. Instead, incorporate a little bit more power into your workouts, especially for endurance athletes. I think it's very critical, and I'll get onto that in a bit as to why I think that is really, really important. I just went on quite a long tangent. I filmed all of this, and midway through recording it, I realized that the microphone was not turned on. Anyway, we move on. So what is power/athletic training? It can also be referred to as like reactive training. Some people also throw in plyometrics into that as well. But it's really a type of training that helps to improve the stretch shortening cycle. There we go. Which is basically a rapid eccentric movement, which is the down portion of a movement, followed immediately by a rapid concentric motion of a movement, or the up portion of it. Basically, it enhances your ability to move more explosively. That's the short cliff notes of that. It primarily targets type 2 muscle fibers, also known as fast twitch muscle fibers, which are responsible for explosive, high-intensity movements and are essential for developing speed, strength, and power. This is in contrast to slow twitch muscle fibers, which, as the name might suggest, are slower to produce maximal tension on the muscles. Fast twitch muscle fibers fatigue much quicker than slow twitch muscle fibers, which are more resistant to fatigue. Slow twitch can also be referred to as type 1 muscle fibers, and fast twitch muscle fibers have two different designations. They break off into two different categories. There is type 2A muscle fibers, and there is type 2X muscle fibers. Type 2A has a higher oxidative capacity, and they fatigue fast, but they don't fatigue as quickly as type 2X, which have a lower oxidative capacity and fatigue much, much quicker. Both of type 2A and X fatigue much quicker than type 1 or slow twitch. Every individual is different and is going to have a different amount of type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. And I actually should preface this before I say the next part of what I'm going to say. You have a muscle, take the quad for instance, right? The quad has a couple of different muscle areas, muscle groups within this whole encompassing muscle group of a quad. There's multiple different components of the quad. And inside of each of those components is a variation of type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. This varies based off of the function of the muscle, and it also varies off of genetics. So it's not something you can, the genetics portion you can't change, but you can influence it. And that's why I think it makes it really critical and important to get some more power training in. Why is it important? I want to dive into this a little bit more. It's essential for generating higher rates of force production. And it can help, it has a significant carryover effect into pretty much all facets of your life, every aspect of your life. It helps with lifting heavier weights, quicker directional changes, improving your sprint speed. It also helps to work the ATP-PC system, which is a system that provides the muscles with more energy as you are transferring from a low intensity effort into a high intensity effort. This is going to be a little bit of an extreme example, but I feel that it shows the true value that actually comes from working explosive power athletic training, strength training in particular, or just any in general, power and athletic training. Take, for instance, you're pushing a stroller. You have your kid in the stroller and you're pushing him down a slight declining hill. Okay, you're walking on the sidewalk, you're pushing the stroller down, and you trip. You need to get up as quickly as possible, and you need to sprint to the stroller to recover it before it rolls into the road. You're going from low intensity effort of just pushing the stroller along immediately into a higher intensity effort of sprinting off to get the stroller before it rolls into the street. That's a very extreme example, but I feel like it shows just how critical and important explosive power athletic training has. It improves all facets of life. And before I go into a little bit more on the good functional training for everyone, the ATP-PC system also provides the most energy of any of the energy systems. So there's the ATP-PC system, there's glycolysis, and there's the oxidative systems. The ATP-PC system provides the most energy of those energy systems, and it's also the one that is neglected the most. A lot of people just focus when they go into a training session. A lot of people just in general, when it comes to thinking about fitness, they think of going into the gym and more strength and hypertrophy focused work, basically developing bigger muscles and developing your muscles to be stronger, which, yeah, that's great. And I absolutely preach that everyone should be doing that. But at the same time, these people, they go in, they do this, and then it's just a repetitive cycle. They do the same thing again and again and again and again and again. And they do the same exercises, a little bit of progressive overload, which is great. That's good, right? And it shows consistency and discipline with showing up and consistently doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. But at times it just gets a little bit boring, right? That can get a little bit repetitive, and it can reduce adherence to a fitness program. And you start losing that adherence and you start losing that motivation to keep going and that discipline. You then fall off a wagon, and then you stop going as much. You don't see as much progress in the gym. With power and athletic training, doing things like plyometrics and etc. and all that is a different facet, a different aspect of the same kind of training, just in a different way. You're doing different exercises. You're still hitting the same musculature groups, but you're hitting different muscle fibers within those muscles. And it helps you to become a more well-rounded athlete, a more well-rounded person in general, right? Take me, for example. I do my Ironman training, right? So I got my swim, my bike, and my run. On top of that, though, I still also do a little bit of soccer training still. I also go out for rucks with a friend of mine. I do a little bit of boxing. When I go into the gym, I still do my strength and hypertrophy work, but I also do this more athletic training, more power-focused training, this plyometrics, calisthenics. I change it up, right? And it keeps it a little bit more interesting. It keeps you more engaged and increases your adherence to a program. That's just one area of how it can be. Not only is it important, but I think it can also help to really make you a more well-rounded person or athlete or whatever. Last thing I want to mention about the importance of it, it's especially important for aging adults. Anything past 45, you start to lose muscle. Your muscle starts to deteriorate, and that's depending on your level of physical activity, right? In order to combat this deterioration, in order to make sure that we minimize the amount of loss in the muscles, we stimulate them. We provide more blood flow through them. We get them more active, and we continue to stay active as we age. But as I said before, with the type 2 muscle fibers, they are less resistant to fatigue. They fatigue much quicker than type 1 muscle fibers, which means that they deteriorate the quickest within the muscles, which means that they require more attention than type 1 muscle fibers, and why they are a critical component of our training, and then something that we need to focus on, right? Because as we're aging, and we don't want it to deteriorate, we don't want to lose more muscle mass. Of course, nobody wants to do that. So in order to combat that, we have to incorporate more power training, and it's an area of the fitness industry that is, in my opinion, neglected. Like I said, people have more of a focus on the strength and hypertrophy aspect that they don't really consider this kind of training, more reactive, explosive, plyometrics, and power training. There's a couple more benefits that I'm just going to list out. Right? I wrote them down because it's too much for me to remember. Whatever. Just a couple more benefits that you will see from power and athletic training. Increased bone mineral density and decreased risk of bone/joint injuries. It improves your soft tissue, which is the ligaments, the tendons, cartilage, muscle fibers, etc. It strengthens them and decreases the risk of injury. It increases your metabolic expenditure for improved weight management and/or weight loss. Increased strength and power for athletes and general population. Improved muscle contractions and nervous system synchronization. Improved performance for athletes of all levels. And enhanced response time to a stimulus or better reaction times in general. There are so many benefits to doing this type of training. I don't understand why more people don't do it. Well, that said, okay, now that we understand why it's important and what the benefits are of doing it, well, how do I do it? You might be asking. Good question. I got listed here a bunch of exercises, and as you've seen before, and as you'll see a little bit now, some exercises that help with or that are focused on power, explosiveness, and athletic training in general. To start off with, I think would be a good progression if you're just doing strength and hypertrophy work right now. Incorporate those same compound movements, right? Typically with strength and hypertrophy work, you're going to be hitting more compound movements. You'll be doing something like bench press, squat, deadlift, etc., right? Do them at a slightly lighter weight and focus more on speed. Place a greater emphasis on speed and moving the weight as quickly as possible. So for example, like you saw before, what I was doing was quarter rep squats with the safeties raised up. So I do the squat, go down to that portion, and then I explode off. I explode up as quickly as I possibly can. Is it going to make the muscles bigger? Is it as effective as lifting heavier weights or pushing it to failure? No. But does it train different muscle groups and different, not muscle groups, does it train different tendons in the muscles groups? Yes. That's why it's important. You could also do trap bar deadlifts where you're on the ground, right? You got the bar here and you explode up as quickly as possible. Could even be trap bar jumps. Obviously, you do those with a little bit lighter weight because you're not going to be jumping around with 275 pounds unless you're an absolute freak of nature. Really just reactive movements where the muscle is surprised, I guess is the best way I could put that. Plyometrics, really, really good. It's something I've been doing for past 5-6 years now, plyometrics, and I've seen tremendous gains and tremendous improvements in my performance. So dropping down off of a box, broad jumps, lateral broad jumps, split squat jumps, knee drives. You could do, oh my God, I'm blanking on it. Oh yeah, you jump up from your knees. You start on your knees and then you jump up onto your feet and then you explode off to a side. Stuff like that. Explosive, jumping, power movements like that. You could also do resistance banded workouts. You can do things like banded knee drives, lateral band walks, banded resistance broad jumps. You could do sprints, medicine ball slams, power cleans, trap bar jumps, as I stated before. There's so many options that you have that you can do. And I just really think there's no excuse to not do it. There's no excuse. Everyone should be doing this to some degree. It makes you more well-rounded. I listed the benefits off before. I think it's very critical to your training and to just being a more well-rounded human being in general. So hopefully now with this information on athletic strength training and power training and examples of it, why it's crucial, why it's important to everyone, hopefully you can take away from this video that if you're not already starting to do power training, if you're not incorporating that in, you should. My advice, if you're doing strength and hypertrophy work in the gym, add one explosive movement to the end of your first compound lift, and one to the end of your first compound lift and one towards the end of your workout. You could do the quarter rep squat, you do squats, and then you do the quarter rep explosive squats, and then at the end of the workout, when you're just about finished, you can do broad jumps, or you can do resistance band walks on this, God, oh my goodness gracious me, what am I saying? What is it called? Lateral band walks. You can do that at the end. Incorporate it. Start doing it. Start including it. Start now. It's never too late. You can always start doing it. But with that being said, hopefully you guys took something away from this video. Hopefully you guys now understand the value and the importance of power and athletic training. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. And as I always say at the end of every video, train hard, train frequently, find results. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.